So number one, instead of having it derail your progress, you need to break free and create a new, empowering identity that aligns with your goals. Who cares how long it's going to take? Who cares how hard it's going to be? If you align yourself and you create the new person that's going to achieve those goals or try to attempt to do so, you will always succeed. So we need to remember that statistics show that 85% of adults struggle with comparison syndrome, which negatively impacts their self-esteem and their motivation. 85% of adults. Now, why is it so high today and worse with teens? Because of this, because technology. We're able to scroll, and I can go on TikTok and Instagram, and I can waste hours. I can look at people living the perfect life, perfect body, perfect cars, talking about their health. And if I was Mr. Johnson and I'm 55 pounds overweight, this is going to make me feel crappy. Hey guys, how are you? My name is Coach Dimitri Giankoulis, and welcome to another edition of the Pure Motivation Podcast Show. As always, we want to bring you the information, education, the inspiration to take your training from where you are now to the next level. Now, today we're going to talk about another body type specific experience. We're talking about being stronger over 40, and we're talking about the Endomorphs guide to losing fat permanently. And we want to talk about breaking plateaus. Now, in this little message here today, I'm going to have 10 different plateau scenarios that I've experienced with my members over 29 years at my fitness studio, in my previous career, working in different gyms, with my online training program that I have right now. And when you look at the differences between people and where they are now and where they want to get to, there's trends. And there's, clues of what's happening. And you probably have heard the common, phrase of success leaves clues. Well, just like success leaves clues, when you're looking at different body types and looking at different results, the different body types have specific areas and specific plateau principles that if you kind of pay attention to them and you work them one by one, you won't feel as negative. You won't feel as discouraged. Fat loss is not going to be a challenging problem, because you have a principle or some kind of a guide booklet here, okay? If you're interested, I'm going to put notes at the bottom in the description here so you can actually get this whole PDF handout if you like. And again, if you have any questions or you have any specific things you want to ask, send me the comments. I want to hear from you, but let's get started. So number one, we're talking about the Endomorphic guide to breaking down body fat in a permanent level. We all understand that the endomorphic body type is one of the third of the three. Typically slower metabolism, really big, heavy bone set, heavier wrists, thicker size in terms of wrist, ankle, neck. They've noticed that even since a young child, losing body fat's been difficult. They have a challenging time with carbohydrates. Their body's not as carbohydrate tolerant. Hormonally, they don't really do well with starchy carbs, with foods that spike blood glucose levels, and they typically have been known to gain weight easily. So if we have those things that are kind of working with us a little bit negatively in terms of genetic type, we have to find out what we can do to break those plateaus. I'm going to be giving you plateaus from both training side, from nutrition side, from the mental aspect side, which typically is the first thing that breaks people down. And I'm going to give you, for each type of plateau, I'm going to give you a challenge, which is, what the challenge is for the person. I'm going to break down a solution and then give you 2 action steps so you can kind of start with it. Okay. So number one, we're talking about the challenge of having a slower metabolism. Okay. Now, endomorphs typically have slower metabolisms and they can gain fat easily, more easily than the other body types. Typically, we want to be focusing on creating a caloric deficit. So first and foremost, before you get a higher trainer, before you want to go join a gym, whatever you're working on, we want to look at creating a caloric deficit. Caloric deficit simply means if you are burning this many calories and your energy expenditure, your total daily energy expenditure is right here, so your body needs to eat this many calories per day, we want to get right underneath that, okay, to cause a caloric deficit. Now, how do we cause a caloric deficit? Very simple. The first thing you want to be doing is track your calories consistently. Okay. Now, if you don't have an idea of what you're eating, and you don't have an idea of the portion sizes, and you don't have an idea of how many grams of protein, how many grams of carb, and how many grams of fat you're eating per day, fat loss is going to be honestly like you driving to another city with no map. If you don't have a clear idea of the total energy calories you're having, you're going to be confused, you're going to be frustrated, and you're literally going to be going in circles. So first, you're going to calculate your basal metabolic rate. Now, in the program that I use for my online coaching program, we have a system, a little app, and you just type in your name, your height, your weight, your age, your sex, your body fat percentage, your activity level. It's going to give you the total calories. And there's many, many scales that tell you that today. There's many computer software programs. If you don't know how to do it, you can Google it. There's also old school principles. The Mifflin St. Jour formula is a long formula. I know they're going to pop it up somewhere here. And that formula is basically your BMR is 10 times your weight in kilograms, plus 6.25 times your height, minus 5 times your age, plus 5 BMR equals 10 times your height. It's a really long formula. But once you find out your basal metabolic rate, right? As an endomorphic male, you find out that number, you know how many calories your body's burning at rest. You may ask, why is that important? Well, if I don't know what my body's burning at rest, I don't know what I'm going to be needing in terms of calculating for my total dailies and the necessities. And then I don't know what to be eating. So now when you take your BMR and you want to find your total daily energy expenditure, you want to look at your activity level. And we have sedentary, light activity, moderately activity. We have very active and super active. And you basically take your BMR and you multiply that by that number. So if it's lightly active, it's times 1.375. If it's moderately active, you times it by 1.55. Now, if I want to take that number, which step number 3 is to reduce it by 500 calories per day. So people say, well, why 500 calories per day? Well, to burn 1 pound of chicho, okay, 1 pound of fat, scientifically, mathematically, I don't care what you want to call it, you need to burn 3,500 calories. That's 1 pound of fat. But that's tough. And I'll tell you why. Because if I get my calculator and I say weight training typically burns for a male, between let's say 600 to 900 calories. So if I go 3,500 calories divided by 600, I need 5.833 workouts per day to get that done. It's not going to happen. So what if I take 500 calories a day and I multiply that by 7 days? That's 3,500 calories, which is 1 pound of fat. So whenever you hear people saying you need to create a caloric deficit, that's the way you want to lose fat, especially as an endomorphic person. Because if you're 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight, and a lot of you are, let's be realistic here. You got a family, you got kids, you got work, you got stress. So emotionally, we rush to food and we sometimes cure that stress by eating. Well, if you're constantly overeating your daily number, you're not going to lose weight. So you can be training with a coach 5 days a week. You can be running 4 days a week. But if your calories are above the daily caloric need, it's not going to work. So if you have that 2,000 calories per day, you do for 7 days in a week, well, we got our number, 500 days subtracted over 7 days is 3,500 calories. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you burn 1 pound of fat per week just from nutrition. So next, we're going to talk about the importance of managing insulin sensitivity and blood sugar, okay? So challenge number 2, there's difficulty managing blood sugar levels. I'm going to give you a solution first. Solution, endomorphs may be prone to insulin resistance, okay? Which makes fat loss more challenging. And more importantly, managing insulin sensitivity can lead to fat metabolism or better fat metabolism for more sustained energy levels. So what do I mean by that? Well, when people are constantly having big splurts of carbohydrate in their fuel, I'm going to throw a picture up here in a few seconds here. But if you notice that when people's blood glucose levels go down and they go up, they go down, they go up, they fast all morning and then they have a really big meal at lunch. And they'll have a bagel with an omelet in it, and then they're still hungry and they have an apple. Well, that bagel and the apple went really, really too high, and that caused their body to produce insulin. Insulin's job is to take excess sugar in the bloodstream and divert it into cells. But there's a certain system. It doesn't just pick up excess glucose and go, hey, let's burn it off, okay? Or else the whole world would be lean. We wouldn't need coaches. It goes muscle, liver, and fat. So if the person's not working out and they had a really, really big lunch, that blood glucose is going to say, who wants it? Muscle, you want it? The body goes, no, not really. I'm not using it. Boom. Liver, you want it? The liver's not supposed to hold on to glucose. It will take extra glucose throughout the day because our liver is like a support system to help us out, and it'll save it as glycogen. But if you continuously spike these blood sugars up and down, it'll say, you know what? Forget the muscle, forget the liver. The liver guy's too busy. Let's dump it into fat cells. And that's why fat cells continuously can grow. Like, look at muscles. Why don't muscles continuously keep growing? I've been training for 29 years. Why am I still 195? Why am I not 225 pounds? Because muscle tissue can't grow the same. Fat cells, on the other hand, can continuously grow. And if you don't believe me, look at people who are obese. You can tell that they have large amounts of body fat built up, large, in all their cells. You kind of forget where the muscle tissue is. So if the body's natural response is to go, okay, we got high blood glucose levels, let's pick this up and let's remove it out. Muscle, no. Liver, yes. Fat, yes. It gets used to that process, okay? And if it keeps on doing it, your body becomes insulin resistant. It's almost like someone saying, hey, we got a problem. There's a fire here. And then every time the fire truck comes out, there's no fire. Then after a while, the person goes, you know what? When you contact us for the fire, we ain't going to show up. By that not happening now, and when your body is either producing too much insulin, the cells are like, don't worry. We're just so used to you. We're not going to pay attention to you. So now that blood glucose stays in your bloodstream, and that's how you get type 2 diabetes. Or if your body is producing so much, it just doesn't work. Your body is resistant to it. So we need to make sure that we can manage blood glucose levels. And typically endomorphic individuals have a harder time. Okay. Now, what you want to do is, and there's also stats that show 1 in 3 adults has insulin resistance. Now, can you change that? Yes. Get your weight training program started, get in a caloric deficit, monitor your food, get some cardiovascular program in there, because you can reverse type 2 diabetes. Type 1, you can't. Another thing you can do is focus on high fiber foods. Okay. You want to focus on eating leafy greens, legumes, whole grains, nutrient-dense carbohydrates versus your simple ones, your white bread, white pasta, crackers, things that are going to spike blood sugar. If we're not spiking blood sugar every time we're eating a meal, we're not going to be storing as much fuel. And it's going to work in terms of helping slow the absorption of sugars into the bloodstream and keep your blood glucose levels elevated. Okay, so you want to make sure you're doing high fiber, you're eating high fiber foods. Also, you want to prioritize complex carbohydrates around workouts. Now your body can get a big surge of glucose. It says, who needs this? The muscle's going to use it during the workout. And when you're done the workout, we can replenish that carb as well. But if you're spacing on your carbs, and you're going 4 or 5 hours apart, or a lot of people will have carbs for breakfast, they eat a little dinky lunch, chicken and salad, and they don't even put fat in their salad, which is like diesel engine. You want to give yourself slow release of fuel. So if you had a chicken and salad and you had some nuts and some avocado on that with some olive oil, that fat fuel source will give you energy for the next 3 to 4 hours. But if you don't have that, it's just vegetables with a light, low-cal dressing and some protein. Your body needs energy. Carbs are not the problem. The problem is we're dumping too much glucose, carbs, in one shot. So think of going to the gas station. Your car needs $25 left. You stick the pump in there and you keep holding and you're on your phone scrolling. And as soon as you pass 25, it's going to spill out of the car on your floor, on the feet. Now, if you put $35 in, that $10 of extra spillage is like your body saying, I got too much glucose here. What am I going to do? I'm going to store it. The only difference is stores into this. And the whole point is to try to burn that off. Okay, next we're talking number 3. So insufficient activity level, which is going to be your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a long word. We summarize it down to the word NEAT. Okay. Challenge, sedentary lifestyle. Okay. Underestimating the non-exercise movement. So what do I mean by that? Well, endomorphs need to make sure that they move naturally throughout the day more than normal. Okay. And I always tell people, if you're an endomorphic person, you want to lose 40 pounds, 55 pounds, consider yourself moving 6 days a week. Consider yourself moving every day. And then they look at me weirdly like, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, it's not about being fair. You're 50 pounds overweight. You told me that you've been heavy set since you were a young child. You told me that when you were 10 years old, you were already overweight. Well, your body naturally has a slower metabolism. You're not tall and long and lanky. You don't do well at endurance sports, but you do well with strength sports. So why don't we get the body moving on a regular basis? It plays a significant role in fat loss because increasing your NEAT, okay, your NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, okay? That can burn 300 to 600 calories per day. And how do we do that? Well, increase your daily NEAT through activity. It could be walking, going for a walk every day, getting 10,000 steps, right? Some people work out every day. And I worked out today, and my total calories was 1,100 calories burned in a workout. Amazing. But my total step count is only 3,375. So it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've burned under 3,500 steps. And if I don't hit 10,000 for the day, my body's not going to have as much needs. So an endomorphic person can look at parking their car further when they want to go somewhere. Walking, riding your bike. When you're done your workout, stay for half an hour and do cardio. When you wake up in the morning, spend 15, 20 minutes on your Peloton bike, on your cardio machine, on whatever it is, okay? Think of doing things, if you want to go for a walk with a dog, go in the morning, go at nighttime. But don't consider that exercise because walking is really, really good for seniors as an exercise point. But if you're within the ages of 20 to 50, you got to start lifting weights because that's going to burn more calories, build bone density. It's going to burn muscular strength. And it's going to burn tendon strength as well. So you want to look at doing things that are going to be increasing your daily need. You can also incorporate strength training, which is going to be your number one thing. Because as an endomorphic person, if you take two bodies, okay, they're two twins, and they're both overweight, and let's say they're both 35% body fat, and being 35% body fat is not hard. We've did people's body comp here, and I've had someone be 52% body fat, which is really, really scary because you're basically saying that 52% of the tissue in your body is adipose versus being muscular. So you got two different guys. They're both training. One guy is doing 3 days of weights, 3 days a week of weight training. Okay, that's it. They do 1 hour sessions 3 times a week. And the other person's coming in for 45 minutes of cardio every day, even an hour. The guy doing the 3 hours of weight training will burn more calories, will build strength, will strengthen his spine, the muscles, the connective tissue, versus someone that's just walking. Yes, you're going to burn calories. You're going to feel great when you're sweating, but it's not going to be the same in the total expenditure. Now, if you can blend the two together and marry them, say, you know what? I'm setting a standard. And from now on, I walk every day for 45 minutes. Now it's not a goal. Now you're not going to say, well, today I couldn't meet my goal. I was busy. I have a standard. And if I do my weight training workout 3 times a week and I walk for half an hour, now you're increasing your daily NEAT. So your daily calories will go up. When you're burning more calories and you're eating in a caloric deficit, you will drop weight. Now, plateau number 4 and how to break it, intermittent fasting, okay? Now, for the endomorphic body type, I will always be comfortable in suggesting this. When I'm looking at someone that's just starting off their weight training program, if they're ectomorphic, I'm not going to suggest it because I'm an ectomorph. I've tried it out. I've tried fasting for 24 hours. It didn't do very well. The next day, I was like 6 pounds lighter, and it's only 24 hours of not eating. 6 pounds lighter. Again, some of that could be water weight because I didn't have carbohydrates, and carbohydrates hold water. But my percentage of fat went up the next day. I didn't feel well. Now, if you're doing it once or twice throughout the year, spiritual reasons, cultural reasons, mindset reasons, great. There's nothing more powerful than you saying, I'm going to do something and stick with it. But for the endomorphic body type, it's really, really well because it can help reduce overall calorie intake and it can promote fat loss without constant tracking or worrying about multiple meals, right? I enjoy eating 5 to 6 meals a day. Now, someone trying to lose body fat that's 50 pounds overweight, that's stressful for them because they know every time they eat, eating isn't like their specialty. They eat the wrong foods. They don't know what to eat. They enjoy eating fast food or they enjoy eating foods that help them when they're emotionally stressed out. For me, I know every 3 to 4 hours, clock clicks in my head, I got to eat. So by following some form of intermittent fasting, studies show that you can reduce body weight for 3 to 8% over a 33 to 24 week period without significant loss in muscle mass. My big thing when people fast is the loss of muscle. If you lose muscle, your metabolism goes down, your lean mass goes down, your strength goes down. So I don't like that. So how can we do that? We have two different ways. We can adopt a 16-8 or 14-10 fasting window where you don't eat for 16 hours and then for 8 hours you eat. So let's say you stop eating at 8 o'clock at night and from 8 till the next day at 12, you fast, okay? What's nice about this is people that have binging problems, and let's be real here, when people say I eat healthy and, I don't know what it is, if you're eating healthy and you're 50 pounds overweight and you've had this problem for a while, you're not eating healthy. Okay, let's be straight. So if you're not eating healthy, chances are you have binging episodes. You could have a hormonal issue in your body. We could have a thyroid issue, okay? We could have an issue where you miss meals, and then because your body is in low blood glucose state, you crave because you're hungrier, and then the carbs coming in are too high. And then we go through that fat storing process. So you go 12 o'clock, your first meal, let's say 12 o'clock, your first meal, 3 o'clock, your next meal, 6 o'clock, your next meal, and then 7:30 of a little mini snack. Some vegetables, a little protein shake, you're good to go. Or you can go a fasting window, 14 hours, and then a 10-hour eating. This naturally limits the time you spend eating, okay? Making it easier to stay in a caloric deficit. Another thing you can do is prioritize nutrient-dense meals around an eating window, okay? So you can focus on nutrient-dense foods in that eating window versus having foods that are going to spike your blood sugar throughout the day. And you're not going to be overeating because if you can remember the secret to sustainable fat loss for life, we got 3 macronutrients: protein, carb, and fat. If you're only eating proteins or only eating fats or only eating proteins and carb and not fats, the Lego complex is mixed. So now you have a deficiency in one of the 3 macros. If I want to make a pasta with a nice sugo sauce and I'm missing an ingredient, it's not going to taste the same. But if I have all 3 ingredients that I need at each time I make it, I'm going to get the same product. So the problem is when people are fasting, they figure, let's fast, okay? Let's cut 16 hours of eating. And then when I'm going to eat food, let's cut my carbs out. So now you're doing a double problem. You're making a double whammy here because you've already went 16 hours without eating. Your body's saying, please feed me. And there's so many factors that are amazing with fasting. From autophagy to cell restoration, from, cleansing out parts of the body that are not working properly, from mindset. Fasting is great. But then if you miss your fat or your carb or your protein specific meals, now we're not going to be in a proper mixture of balance. So intermittent fasting can help the endomorphic person out so long that you're still in a caloric deficit, and at every meal, you got your protein, carb, and your fat. So number 5, we're looking at breaking fat loss plateaus, okay? So the challenge that people have, especially endomorphic individuals, is when you're hitting a fat loss plateau, understanding it, tracking it, knowing it's going to happen, okay? So if you train with me and we do legs, chest, and back for 1 month, and I do the same exercises, squat, bent over row, chest press, and I give you the same weight, same rest on the same days, your body's naturally going to adapt and get used to that. So then at the end of the month, if I try to give you something that's the same and I try to increase the weight, it's not going to really feel as challenging because you've done the same movements over 4 weeks. But what if I took that workout now and I scrapped it and I gave you a circuit and I gave you 4 stations and I gave you squats, push-ups, jumping jack, ball slam. And then the next one is going to be standing rows, bicep curl, tricep extensions, pushing a sled. Totally different workout. I'm shocking the brain. The body's going to have to say, yo, this is different. And if research indicates that metabolic adaptation during weight loss can slow down your results and your metabolism of up to 15%. And if you don't believe me, I can even put the stats at the bottom of this in the description of this YouTube video for all these stats that I'm showing you. But when you plateau, Your metabolism isn't going to speed up. It's going to stay the same. Well, if the metabolism's not changing, how are you going to burn more calories at rest? So you want to make sure that your action tip here is change your workout routine. Vary your exercises, vary the weights, vary the sets, vary the style, the tempo. Change them up every 4 weeks. Give your body some time to adapt, to get used to a routine, but throw things that change up every week. You may want to do the first 3 movements and go the beginning of the month, week number 1, 60 seconds rest. Week number 2, 45 seconds rest. Week number 3, 30 seconds rest. And then week number 4, active rest. That is a way that you've naturally changed a variable in your program. You're breaking the plateau because your body's used to something. Your body's going to respond naturally by either getting stronger, faster, or saying, listen, you keep changing things up. I need to speed up my metabolism to burn more body fat here. The next thing you can do is adjust your caloric intake. So, for example, you're on a caloric deficit. You're eating 1,800 calories. You've done it for 2 months. Your body's not changing. Well, what do I do now? Do I change my workout? Do I change my calories? Do I change when I work out? Do I change my clothing? Let's keep it simple. Let's do an increase and a decrease of 2 variables. The first variable is going to be your caloric expenditure, what you're burning, okay? And as by Dr. John Berardi in Precision Nutrition, one of the certifications that I have, which is known all around the world from athletes to, normal population, is increase your calories that you expend, that you burn by 250, and then decrease your calories that you consume by 250. Now your body has to make a difference because it's like me giving you a certain amount of art supplies. And I'm telling you, I want you to make the same exact drawing with less art supplies. You're going to have to come up with a way to make it work. Now the body is going to understand this and say, well, I'm used to eating 1,800 calories. Now you're going to give me 1,600 or 1,550. That's a shock right there. Now you're also burning more calories, which means the body's got to say, I need more energy. Well, how am I going to get that? Well, let me tap into some body fat. Let me burn some more of this. Okay. And that is how you break a plateau from nutrition and from training. All right. Number 6, you need to set regular body composition assessment days, and you need to learn to track data. Okay. You are carving your body. You are building a sculpture. Unlike in the ancient days in Europe where you had, sculptures made out of marble, and you had accurate, experienced, and creative people that would sit there and they would hit and they would sculpt out a beautiful piece of art through clay. You're trying to do the same thing with your body. So how can you continuously lose body fat over a year? A great example of this is one of our clients, John. They're going to pop up his picture somewhere here. But if you look at John here, he dropped 104 pounds. Okay. I believe it was over a 14-month period. He dropped 25% body fat. He lost 14 inches off his waist. That's nuts. 14 inches off your waist is like getting a new body. And he gained 14 pounds of muscle. Now, it was a lot of work. Won't lie to you. But the only way we got the results was by looking at data. And if you don't track data, you're going to lead to frustration and disappointment. You can't make informed decisions. You need to track data so you're not guessing. When I meet people and I tell them to get your goal, we need to remind you that body typing or somatotyping is not the secret. But it's going to remind you that you got to go back to basics. And listen, I do have a slower metabolism. I got to keep moving. I got to keep tracking myself. So 42% of people that track their data are more likely to succeed. 42%. That's crazy. That's almost 50%, right? And I know it myself because just this week, I did my body comp. My basal metabolic rate has dropped because in the last 2 weeks, I haven't focused on my training program. I tried doing smaller workouts. My weight has dropped down. My skeletal muscle mass has dropped down. My body fat went from 23 to 25. My percentage went from 11.8 to 13. So by seeing this, I know exactly what I need to do to fix it. So perform weekly body composition testing. It helps you monitor fat loss, and it also helps you monitor muscle retention and water retention. Okay. You also want to make sure that, especially if the scale doesn't move, you need to look at internal factors. If you are tracking your progress and you look at your body comp and you see that the scale alone doesn't reflect everything, and if you see that you're losing body fat percentage, it's dropping down, but you also see that you're losing a bit of lean mass, that's a reminder, hey, lift a little bit more weight, eat a little bit more protein, increase the volume of your training so you don't lose that muscle tissue. Because what's the point of losing 50 pounds and out of that 50, 40 is muscle? So for all you guys on Ozempic and all you guys on these old school Dr. Poon, Dr. Brown, all these diets that make you cut out carbs completely and make you live off like 700 to 900 calories per day, you're not going to be able to lift weights. You ain't going to have energy. You're going to have, floppy skin. You're going to lose muscle tissue. And the goal here is to build muscle tissue, not lose muscle tissue. Second, you want to perform monthly endurance and strength testing. Why? Well, if you're an endomorphic individual, it's already challenging to lose weight. You've set a milestone weight loss goal of, let's say, 20, 30, 40 pounds. Now, when I say these numbers to you, I meet people every day that come in that start off wanting to lose 40 to 50. So imagine how big that goal is, okay? This is 5 pounds of fat. Imagine having 5, 10 of these in your body, okay? Which is dangerous. And especially if it's in the visceral area, we'll show you an image of what that is, but think of me taking a scalpel and slicing your midsection open, and then forget taking off the skin. There's subcutaneous body fat, and there's visceral. So the visceral tissue is in the organ, right outside the muscle, right? It's in the rib cage. That's dangerous, okay? So if the scale's not moving and you're kind of stuck, and your clothes ain't changing, you're kind of stuck, and you're like, damn it, my appetite really hasn't changed, the scale really hasn't changed, you know what? It's not working. I'm going to quit. Stop. What you want to do is say, let me track my push-up test in 60 seconds. Day 1, when I tracked it, because I write down my stuff, I did 3 push-ups. Let's say you're on month 3 now. Track your push-ups, you get 10. Boom. Positive reinforcement. You've gotten stronger. If you're going to be going to do a 3-kilometer walk, you have a treadmill. Or let's say you want to go for a jog in your neighborhood, and you originally remember that jog took you 35 minutes to do just around your block because you were tired, you were out of breath, you felt nervous, you felt sick, your knees were hurting, your ankles were hurting. 3 months from now, if you do the same lap and it takes you 20 minutes, you've just shaved your time by 15 minutes. That is progress. That is why we need to track our data. And we need to track it by doing assessments on strength testing, by using a body composition assessment. We use an in-body scanner here. You can use a scale that has that. You can also measure yourself. Measure your waistline, measure your arms, measure your thighs. If you notice that your waistline is dropping every month by an inch, you're not going to care if your percentage is going low, but your weight hasn't dropped that much. That means you've built muscle, which is great. For females or males that are noticing that the measurement's getting bigger, let's say you're losing weight, but you're like, damn it, my clothes are getting tighter, and as a female, I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. Well, when you measure your arms, if you've increased by a half an inch, and the next month it's a quarter inch bigger, you know that you're lifting too heavy, you may be having too many carbs. Or we need to be doing as much arm training because we can go with lighter weight or do more functional movements, okay? But that is why you need to do regular body composition testing and track your data. All right, number 7, we're looking at stress management and cortisol, okay? Now, it's proven that chronic stress can increase cortisol by up to 50%, okay? That's crazy, 50%. And that can lead to an increase in abdominal fat storage. We talked about visceral tissue. We talked about looking at different fat deposit sites. So if you're looking at stress levels, particularly problematic for endomorphs, we want to make sure that we're not going to be prone to fat retention due to stress. So how do you deal with this? Practice mindfulness. I know this is going to sound crazy and a little bit boring, but if you know that you're a stressed individual and you're not priming yourself in the morning when you wake up, and what I mean by priming is something that Tony Robbins always talks about, and he's known around the world for, motivating and inspiring people. Before you start your day, before you start your morning workout, before you go to work, before you do anything, stop for yourself and prime yourself, okay? And manage your stress level. I always tell people to have a gratitude session. It could take 30 seconds, take a minute, take 5 minutes. But be grateful for what you have in life. Be grateful for the fact that you're able to exercise and have the ability to lose weight. Whereas someone that has a physical disability, someone that's been in a car accident, someone that's born that has an adversity issue with them because they don't have the ability to walk and they're in a wheelchair, they don't have the same ability as you. So stop thinking of you as a victim and say, you know what? I'm thankful today. I'm grateful today. I have disposable income to get a coach. I have enough income to join a gym. If you don't have income for those, I have the ability to pick up my phone and search in Google and watch people like myself or other people who are giving you assistance to learn these things. You can also look at prioritizing sleep. Now, sleep is one of the most difficult things, I would say, globally, because sleep is something that we take for granted. Sleep is something that we feel we can just throw it in there, get it done because we're supposed to do it. But for some of us, we're sleeping 6 hours, 5.5 hours. We're getting interrupted sleep. Before we go to bed, we're on our phones and we get this blue light in us. Then we go to bed and we're wired. But if you can prioritize 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night, it'll reduce cortisol levels. So prioritizing something to practice mindfulness will help you out. And your sleep is one of the most important things to assist you with your fat loss goal. All right, number 8, we're talking about overall mindset for long-term success. You got to remember one thing. The challenge with fat loss for an endomorphic individual is that it's a frustrating process, it's long, and it doesn't work as fast as other people. You want to have patience, and you want to remember to avoid the trap of exceeding overnight results. Statistics actually show that if you focus on long-term progress and you celebrate milestones, you're more than twice likely to not only achieve the goal, but to sustain it over long term. Break your goal into smaller goals. Make sure it's manageable. Set up milestones. Celebrate your progress over time rather than focusing on short-term fluctuations. Why not set a behavior goal? Why not set a standard over long term? Ready? Watch this. I have a standard that I will not miss 2 days in a row of exercise. If I was an endomorphic person trying to lose 40, 50 pounds, I would say my standard is every night I walk with my kids. My standard is every Wednesday and Sunday I do food prep. My behavior goal, I'm not going to care about 60 pounds right now. All I care about is 7 days at a time. Take 60 pounds of fat loss, chop it up into 7 days. All I want to achieve this week is what I teach people is I want to log my food and I want to do 3 workouts. That's it. And if I can walk with my kids at nighttime, bonus. Guess what? In 7 days, if you've done your 3 workouts, if you've tracked your food, check. Positivity. You've gotten the behavioral. You're building behavioral habits. And if you stick to the behavior, to setting a standard for yourself, not only will you change your lifestyle and your body, but you're changing your character. You're changing your subconscious mind. You're changing your identity, the way you feel about yourself. Fat loss is not A plus B equals C. Fat loss is A plus A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus B plus B1, 2, 3 equals C. So if you don't have a way to be prepared to go through the ups and downs and the roller coasters, and if you can't sit there and practice self-compassion even, another tip for yourself, understand that setbacks are going to happen. You're not going to lose weight every week. It's going to happen, okay? Instead of getting frustrated, treat each opportunity It's a challenge. Just because the goal is bigger doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means your plan of action needs to be more concrete. The variables that you use, the standards, have to be specific. And the ability for you to get help from a coach for accountability needs to be there, okay? Those are areas to work on overall mindset. All right, number 9, we're talking about balancing family with life commitments, okay? And all these points I'm giving you today are amazing areas and strategies to work on breaking the plateau. I really hope that if you're watching this, you're going to click on the link and get the PDF to the bottom. You're going to share this video with a friend or family, because this stuff that I'm giving you has been what I've kind of tallied up over 29 years of doing this. This January is 30 years for me training in the fitness industry in Toronto, okay? So the problem is that many men and women over 40, they struggle to prioritize fitness alongside work, family, and other commitments, okay? And you need to remember that you got to integrate fitness into your lifestyle without sacrificing family. And my motto, my solution line that I tell people is I help men over 40 with my online coaching program or in our fitness studio, men and women, burn fat, build muscle, balance fitness and food without sacrificing family or lifestyle. That is the secret to life. That is the secret to longevity. That's the secret to making sure that you are not going to start and stop. Okay? That is the secret of you being able to achieve the goal you want and then have your kids and your family watch you do it and be proud of you, and you become a role model, right? So statistics show that people who consistently engage in 30 minutes of daily exercise, especially with your kids, are 30% more likely to maintain it over life. Okay, so 2 action steps I'm going to teach you about right here is 1, schedule your workouts like an appointment. If you don't schedule your exercise in your calendar, it ain't going to happen. And when I meet people who say they don't have time, damn it, you got to level up. You got to create a new excuse moving forward, especially if you got kids, if you own a business, if you manage people at work, if you're in a role of authority, okay? If you're in school, if you're watching this right now, you're in university and you're struggling to get your education, to build your career, you're trying really hard to set yourself up for success, but you're 30, 40 pounds overweight, it's never going to work unless you carve out with a knife and you carve out those spots in your schedule and you make it a priority, okay? Number 2, opt for time-efficient workouts. So we talked about you're a parent. You can't balance fitness and food and your lifestyle. Well, kids, guess what? When's your hockey practice? Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Perfect. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the weekends, we're all going to go for a workout. We're all going to watch a video at home. We're going to call this guy Coach Dimitri. He's going to give us a workout to do as a family. So if you're busy, have time-efficient workouts to get your results. All right, we are down to the last of our 10 items to help you break your plateau, be stronger over 40, and make sure that fat loss is an enjoyable experience for you, especially for the endomorphic person. I save this one for last because to me, this one is the most important one. So this one is called creating a new identity and a story for yourself. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you a small story. When I was younger growing up, I realized as a young boy that my father wasn't around. And, when I was between, the ages of 4 to 6, I didn't really kind of understand, pay attention to it. And as I got older, my mom told me at 10, here's the situation. Here's the story. Here's how we're going to live, right? Your dad's not going to be around. It's me and your brother. It's going to be hard. She like literally dropped the bomb on me and said, you're at the age now where I think you're mature enough. At 10, she told me this. And she goes, I want to make sure you understand, which was great for her because she set me up for success, okay? Indirectly, without even knowing. And as I was growing up, a lot of the times I hated the word father. I hated the word parents. I hated Father's Day, Christmases, all these parent-teacher interviews because I only had one parent. And I'm like, why do I not have two? Am I not special? Like, did God not want me to have two parents? And I started creating a story of myself that was negative. And it wasn't until I changed the story within me and I was confident enough to rearrange my identity. And when people would ask me, say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a single mom. My dad's not around. He left before I was born. And he has some mental health issues and he's no longer here. And instead of people, when they give me sympathy, oh my God, that must be so hard. As a young boy, I would say, no, it's actually, it's okay. It's going to make me stronger. I was telling people it's making me stronger. I was telling my coaches I use the fuel and sometimes the pain from my personal life and I put it into my sport. So number one, instead of having it derail your progress, you need to break free and create a new, empowering identity that aligns with your goals. Who cares how long it's going to take? Who cares how hard it's going to be? If you align yourself and you create the new person that's going to achieve those goals or try to attempt to do so, you will always succeed. So we need to remember that statistics show that 85% of adults struggle with comparison syndrome, which negatively impacts their self-esteem and their motivation. 85% of adults. Now, why is it so high today and worse with teens? Because of this, because technology. We're able to scroll and I can go on TikTok and Instagram and I can waste hours. I can look at people living the perfect life, perfect body, perfect cars, talking about their health. And if I was Mr. Johnson and I'm 55 pounds overweight, this is going to make me feel crappy. Number two, let go of the old you. Let them die. Let them burn in fire. Let go of the person that keeps talking to you in your brain. Remove the limitations. You're also going to focus on always being ready to be bigger in terms of a mindset. I can do this. If you don't have the motivation, get some sticky notes. And I want you to try this out. And I want you to write out 15, 25 reasons why you think you can do this. And take these bad boys and place them everywhere on your window. Place things that are motivational, inspirational. Write down why it's important to you. I want to do this for my kids. Write down your kids' names. So when you have all those little things that you set out here, now you have affirmations. And when you wake up and you feel negative, you're like, holy crap, I wrote that. So I'm leaving you guys off with this today that if you didn't get anything from this whole podcast, remember that you can rewrite your story. You can change everything you've went through. You can take a negative childhood. You can take personal trauma. You can change it into success. You can change the motivation for other people. And you can change it to inspiration for your family and your people in your community. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you can share it with any friends and family that you feel can help. And remember, the biggest joy for me is to read your comments, to read your questions, and to see how I can spread the word for you. If you're stuck and you live in the city of Vaughan and you want to come try our fitness studio out, send us a message. We'll give you a complimentary 7-day pass to come enjoy it and to come see the coaches, the culture, and the community that we've built here. And if you don't live in the city of Vaughan and you're anywhere on this beautiful planet Earth, but you're like, you know what? He seems like he understands my body type. He seems like he understands his experience. He's worked with people before. I want to reach out to you. Reach out to me. If you want to ask me questions and they're very private, don't reach out to me on YouTube because I want to keep it private between me and you. Reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook. Their links are in the description here below. But most importantly, remember that you control the key to your success and only you can make this happen. At the end of the day, what's important is your attitude, and attitude is everything. Take care. That's it. That's all. I'll see you at the next video.